Hi you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life process video. In this video, I'm working on week 39 from 2016, and I am deep into the fall, which I absolutely love. So you're gonna get more fall pages in here. Right now, I am looking through my September Studio Calico kit, and I'm just looking for cards that I wanna use for this week. I absolutely love this kit, and I'm not sure if it's just because the cards are a little bit different or there's colors that I don't normally use. There's greens and oranges, but I really love this kit, and I'm trying to pull cards that I feel like are going to be relevant for this week. So the first thing I do is go ahead and go through that. And one thing I noticed when editing this video is I do actually do a lot of journaling onto cards. And this time I'm just doing a bullet point of things that happened during the week, things that aren't necessarily corresponding to any photo per se that's in the spread, but just stuff that happened throughout the week. And I'm using some of those star stickers to, kind of highlight the bolded every time I change topics. So those are also, I believe, from a Studio Calico kit, but from a long time ago. So I like that I've been able to use those stars. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some alpha stickers. Now I have a ton of these alpha stickers because in 2014 I bought like actually I think it was like 6 packages because I was going to use the numbers on my 2014 Project Life for week 1, week 2. So I was going to use all those numbers, and I ended up I haven't completed 2014 yet. So I just decided to go ahead and start using these packages because I have them and they're just sitting there, and they're foam, and I like that they're not too high, but they do add some texture. And I think they're perfect. I wish that they sold them in white, but they only sell them in black. But I really like them. So the next thing that I'm going to do something very bold, something very different for me. And I'm going to write right on the photo. And the thing that you saw me do there is I wanted to make sure that what I wrote down was dry so that I wasn't smearing any of that ink. And then also I'm using that envelope to make sure that I'm not getting a lot of fingerprints on that photo. But I'm actually writing on the photo and I loved it. So I think I said in a couple weeks past that I have a hard time writing on photos, and I do. But in this instance, I liked it. So I'll probably end up doing more. I need to make sure that I take spaces that do have white space so that I can write right on my photo, like that picture right there. The next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is I think I'm not sure if this is the moment that, I want to use this card that I got from, I guess I don't want to say stole it, but I saw it was either Pinterest or Instagram, and then I took a picture of it or screenshotted it. And I really wanted it. I thought it was a great quote that talked about, dreams, and really stop dreaming and get back to work so you can make your dreams come true. So I really love that. And I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate this into this spread this week. And at this point, you can probably tell by the way that I'm working that I have finally, made a decision and figured out what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I just cut a bunch of 3x4 cards, and I'm going to add my photo right onto it and then do the journaling. That's something, recently I've decided that a lot of times when I'm doing these 3x3 pictures, I'm just getting like an inch at the bottom, and I like that. I've always kind of done it that way, but recently I've been thinking about making it look more like a Polaroid and having more of a white edge to it, the photo itself. So I may do that in weeks coming up just to give the layout a little bit more white space, or give that picture a little bit more grounding. I guess I say that a lot, and I feel like I definitely need in my layout. So in that picture, I was writing about the election, and for some reason, when I took that picture, when I was out and about, I was thinking about our country and thinking about the state of our country and this election coming up. And so I kind of wrote a little bit about my feelings and, how I'm feeling about this election, because it seems like a really odd election this time coming up. So I try and get stories like that in my project life that aren't just about we did this, we went there, but like how I'm actually feeling and things that are relevant that are going on in our lives, because that's a pretty big deal, an election, something that I'll want to look back on and definitely remember. And I think that's how I decide what stories I want to tell is, am I going to care about this in 20 years? And if my answer is yes, then I put it in. I guess you could say that is the measuring stick that I use when it comes to telling my stories. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've decided to trim down that quote. So it's 3x4, and I'm adding the word truth because that's how I feel about that quote. I feel like, if you dream big enough, they'll come true, but really it's only if you do the work. So that's really what the quote is about. And so I added the word truth to kind of go with the hello fall and also yes. So I'm adding a third element of those letters. And then I realized that I just needed to adjust those letters a bit. And then I'm going to do some journaling that explains, kind of where I found the quote and also how I feel about that, because I think there is a lot of stuff online that talks about like your dreams come true, but they don't really talk about, that there's a lot of work that goes into making those dreams come true. So it's something, the reason why I'm actually adding it into my project life is because it's something I want my kids to remember. And it's a lesson that I'm trying to teach them, is that you get what you want on the far side of work. So that's why I decided to add that quote and add that story into our project life. So the next story I'm going ahead and telling with this card is just how much I love the fall and how we went from this awesome fall weather to like 45 degrees. And it's so Utah to go from 90 degrees to 45. So I wanted to definitely get that story in, because that's definitely how it feels like our fall goes. And then I'm wanting to add a little bit more embellishment. And I think that this is the point of making this spread where I really start loving it. I pull over these embellishments this came in the Studio Calico kit from September. This is also one of the elements that came, or the embellishments that came. And I decided that I really loved this green color. And I'm not normally a green person. And if you go back and you look at like my project life, you'll see that I don't really have a lot of green. And so for some reason, I was just loving adding this green. And you can see that the card on the bottom left that says, love this place, it was white. And I ended up turning it over onto the green side. And so at this point, this is where I decide to add more green to the layout. So I'm taking off those letters. Thank goodness that they're easy to take off and put back on. And I'm just adding that little embellishment. They're clear. I don't know what they're made out of, honestly. They're not as thick as acetate. They're probably vellum is actually what it is. It's probably printed vellum now that I think about it. And so they're really easy to work with, and, adhesive would show through. So what I've decided to do on this one in particular is let the letters hold down the vellum. And so I'm letting the H and the T and I think a little bit of the R kind of hold that down. And then I end up cutting off the top. So I just love the way that looked in that little pop of color. I can't say enough how much I was like in love with this layout once I started adding the green, and the way it just felt a little bit more fall to me. It just made me really happy. So I'm glad that one thing that I've noticed and I've realized is if I have the embellishments out and in front of me, I'll use them. So a note that I should make to myself, and something that I would also suggest to you, is before you start any project, whether it be like a scrapbook page or project life or cards or whatever you're working on, like go through your stash of stuff and pull out the elements that you love and the elements that you want to work with, and then have those in front of you so that when you're working on your spread, you can pull them out. And I'm not always great about that. I mean, I do like to use the kits that I get. So I'm a little bit better about having the kit stuff out, but just remembering to look around and see what you've got, this, the stash that you have around you. It can just make things go so much more smooth. And yeah, it totally made this layout for me. So I'm glad that I had that stuff right by my side. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm adding, because I'm putting, 2 3x4s into a 4x6 slot, I'm adding those, I'm actually using the adhesive to put them right on the photo in back of it, just to hold them in place. I usually do that when I put 2 3x4s in a 4x6 slot, just so they don't move around. And then I want to add a little bit more embellishment. I want to add a little bit more orange to this layout because of the orange leaf and also that orange that says go see and do. All right, I am almost finished, but I have one more thing left to do, and it's the title page. I don't normally leave it to the end, but for some reason this time I did. I was getting excited about everything else I had to do on this page. So I decided I don't want to use white, and obviously black won't work. And so I looked through my stash and I found this kind of beige color, brownish color ink, and it's a pigment ink. And I decided to use it now. I don't know. After really doing it and putting it on, I didn't love it because I didn't think it looked great with the gold. And I really loved this card with the gold letterpress, but I didn't actually love it. But that's okay. I left it anyway. I'm not going to worry about it. And then one more thing before this layout is complete. I wanted to add just a little bit more green over on the left side. And so I'm just going to be adding it to the top of that adventure card. Anyway, you guys, this is the layout for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll have lots more videos coming up. All right, you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.